Hello and good evening, everyone, and welcome to a moment with Vivacious. I'm still in my uniform. Uh, I wear this jacket to work. I'm still in all my work clothes, but it was very important for me to come on tonight live. I didn't get relief at work till late, and but I didn't want to rerun. And tonight is just an absolute must. So I'm glad you guys joined in. Please, we're talking about how can we win? And I'm going to say right now, how can we win again? So while we're showing our intro, I want you guys to be calling someone to join in. We must become active and winning our freedom. See you in a moment. Hey, that was a little mix up, but that's okay. We want to talk about tonight, and I hope you guys that's out there that you join in. And I, because I can talk forever, but I can't make America better by myself. So we're talking together, having conversation, building our nation. And I've been accused of not being American enough, but it's okay because tonight I'm still talking about us in America because we are the people who participate and listen and call in. And the first thing I want to talk about tonight is that people say a lot of things and they blame a lot of our setbacks as a people on us coming out of slavery. Good evening, everyone. Sigrid said, good evening, Sigrid. I just love you for your loyalty and I appreciate you for always being here and even sharing Vivacious Speaks with other people. Thank you. But I need our participation because we're going to have to learn how to get together again as a people in order for us to win again. When were we ever winning? Have y'all ever heard of the Black Wall Street? What made those people set us on fire? It's because we had our own money, we had our own businesses. Lake Pontchartrain came over a flourishing city, black city in Louisiana, Lake Lanier here, the lake in Florida. They got Central Park from burning in New York, from burning down a flourishing black community. What made communities flourish? We flourished after that, son. I remember, like I always talk about, in our neighborhood, we went to St. David, the private school for blacks. Remember St. Maurice? I was going through this with my granddaughter. I love teaching them history, our history, what their history is, because my history is her history. And I want us to get on that and begin to teach our grandchildren and our great grandchildren. So we were talking about, she was talking about Ruby Bridges. And I was saying the same time, at the same exact date, same time, Ruby Bridges was on the north side of the Lower Canal Bridge, and the other three ladies, Leona Tate was one of them that I personally know. She was on the southern side, what they still call the lower ninth ward at McDonald 19 integrating. So Ruby Bridges, it was really four young girls that day, but Ruby Bridges was by herself, and for whatever reason, God made it that way, that she was the one that the world knew. It really doesn't matter. It's that our children know our history. So, but everybody, and I made that a point to say everybody, almost everybody at that school, family flourished. The families were flourishing, upper middle class, I would say. And that was the area of town, and I guess every city had an area of town where they had for the black elite, I'll say. Well, Pontchartrain Park was the first one, but that's not what we're talking about right now. But it was good to mention because Pontchartrain Park is old black money in New Orleans still till today. You know, that's where the money in New Orleans was at that time. And everybody's daddy had a business. As I've spoken many times, my daddy had a cleaners. My friend Natasha daddy was a pharmacist, one of the few black pharmacists in New Orleans at that time, Mr. Polk. And I'm sorry. And Joanne's daddy had a grocery store. My daddy had a cleaners. Everybody's daddy had a business. If their daddy didn't have a business, their mama had a business. And we had some families that wasn't so prosperous, but they made a way to pay for their children to have education to make life better for them. Some of those young women I went through high school with, and they made life better for us. My dad went to 8th grade, but they made life better for us. But what made them flourish so? And this is one of the things we're going to talk about today. I don't remember too many children in the block that didn't have a mama and a daddy. They had some people that did, but that was not a big deal. And it was not a big deal in the community because the community was the community. And everybody worked together. Miss Irene girls babysitted us, and when they got married, we babysitted their children and christened their kids. We stayed united. I was talking with my girlfriend the other day because this is going to get to another part that we're going to talk about, but I want to continue to talk about daddies in business. But I remember when the Jackson 5 had their first album, ABC. Oh man, I had the album, right? And we had competition. We were the 1700 block. Me, Claudette, Tammy, Mona. We were the 1700 block. And I guess we won because we had the album. So we could practice day and night. We would get up early in the morning. Everybody come over to my house. I would bring the album over to their house. And everybody made a dance. And we would go all the way to Galvez, which was the 2200 block. 2100 block maybe. 21 or 22. And then we started at Claiborne where Rhonda and them, Rhonda Molizar and them, their group and them. Their group, we challenged. The 16, 17, 18, everybody got together and we challenged. I said, young girls gonna miss that. They're missing that today. But that's going to be for another part. But I just wanted to tell it because it was right there. Because I can still remember our dance. And I said that to say, what broke that up? What broke that up, what broke the foundation of our prosperity up, is when we stop having businesses in our own community. When we stop supporting our own businesses. And so often today, when we get our businesses, like I'm just going to mention getting your hair done. I went to the hairdresser and the beautician, cosmetologist. You know, you have different words now. We used to be hairdresser way back then. I went to the cosmetologist and I had my hair done, my hair dyed and cut. I wear my hair natural, so it wasn't no other chemicals. The girl wanted to charge me almost $500. I said, oh my heavens, no, why? So we agreed to come down $200, but you think I'll ever go back to her again? Or tell somebody else to go back to her? Why is that an excuse for 2 reasons? When Miss Mary did our hair, I love Miss Mary, y'all. When Miss Mary did our hair, when my cousins would do our hair, it would cost Daddy $1 or $2. They came up, well, of course, that was back then, right? But they came up with a price that they can make money and have a profit, and we could afford it. But now when we get businesses, man, I was gonna try that the last Healthy Crave everybody was on, but everybody has such ridiculous prices. When I go in the store and I want to buy black product for my hair, it's like everybody wants to get rich overnight. And I'm just telling us, we're putting ourselves out of business. Because if L'Oreal, which I understand how L'Oreal can make their prices much cheaper, and Cream of Nature, and you have y'all dyes right next to each other, and your dye is $50 and theirs is $15 and $20, you would say we're wrong because we didn't support Black business. But I would say think of our community. And how they get over that? One day there was this shoe store we used to go to, and it was called Shoe Town, right? And I was in one area and I got I saw these shoes at Shoe Town. And they would cost more than Shoe Town shoes. Then I said, I'm gonna get those shoes when I get home, because there was a Shoe Town on St. Bernard Street. So when I got to that Shoe Town, I said, why the shoes here is different from the shoes, I'm gonna say St. Charles, different from the shoes on St. Charles. He said, oh, this is a ghetto store. I said, a ghetto store? He said, yeah, we don't put that product here. People would just steal it, so we don't put that here. I thought, oh, wow. They're selling us cheap shoes for a lesser price, and they're selling shoes that cost more, that probably should cost even more than they were charging, but it was balancing them out. And I'm not saying put a cheap product in our neighborhoods, but what I'm saying is, when you think of your constituents, think of the people that's going to buy your product, think of their income. And like I told a young lady, I said, how many people that come into your shop that you think they could afford that kind of money? How many people would you charge them that? Well, I didn't know how to charge. I said, you charge me by the product. That's how you charge me. What's the product? And what's the profit you want to make between your work and your cost? And everybody pays the same price. And that's business. But what really, really killed us, and please, if y'all have anything you want to say, please don't let it only be my opinion, because only us together can make us work, okay? So, somebody was checking us out. Somebody saw how our communities worked. Somebody came in and studied our communities, moved to America, studied our communities, studied how millionaires, Black millionaires became millionaires, and did what we used to do in our community. Who run your nail shops? Who run your restaurants? Who run your cleaners in your gas station in our community? And they run it with the same principles. One time I was running out of gas and I had to get off in another neighborhood. And I've said this on here before I even put the picture of the gas. The gas was more than $1 cheaper on the north side of town on the exact same day. Because when I stopped, I just got enough gas because I didn't feel comfortable where I was. I just got enough gas to get me home and go to the gas station to get gas at home. But these people have come. Now we own no businesses in our own neighborhoods. We own none. And these people have come in and they have nail shops, baby, when we go. They have hair shops, beauty supply shop. Who can do beauty supply for us better than us? Do you think those people they sell us? Do you think they eat what they sell us? So I believe the only way we're going to begin to win again is if we take back our communities. We have to become the business owners in our community. If you have a business idea, then one of your products may not be able to sell right here. Maybe you have to sell it over there. But bring all of what your community could afford of the product that you have to sell to your community. Dia says Black vendors in the beauty supply chain can't get the same mass supply price per unit as the Asian beauty supply. The Asians have a pipeline that Black folk do not have access to, and that's absolutely correct because they studied our our businesses, our hair, our habits, created it in their country, and send it here. And send it here to sell it. That's absolutely correct. But let me tell you what another one of our problems are. They studied us that long. Why we didn't study us that long? I'm not saying that it's all good. Dia is absolutely right. Hi, Dia, and thank you for joining in. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate you guys for always being here for me. Thank you. But why we didn't take time to study us? And, you know, we all got to blame it on somebody. But I blame part of that, a large part, on integration. And why Vivacious? Why do you blame that on integration? I blame it on integration because I'm just going to say when the civil rights movement had us mixing up together, they wanted us as a people to have equal access to the things that they have. We still don't have equal access, as Dia so plainly put it. So integration didn't work. But in the midst of integration, there was a segment of us that didn't want to be us anymore. We didn't want to be us no more. We wanted to be them. That's one thing. Some of us don't want to be Black. And they sure don't like if we stand up to be Black. But we spend our time studying them and not studying us. The Black woman that became the first millionaire with hair product, she studied us. She studied our hair. Some of that she took from somebody else and enhanced the other Black lady's product. But she took time to study us. But Revlon, okay, Revlon, that used to be my perm. But there was Ultra Sheen. Mm-hmm. We stopped studying us and we started studying them. And we've come so far down the pipeline. So let's talk about that part. How do we recover as business people? Anybody have any idea? I have an idea. If we get a group of people, a group of us, and I don't know if I should say this, but this is how I feel. If we could ever mature to the point to invest our monies together, and everybody build their business. You know, like when you go to the restaurant and it's 90 of y'all, okay? Let's just say 20 people. We're not going to get 20 bills. We're going to get one bill. And the way I handle it is I'm going to divide it up by that bill by 20, add a tip, add a decent tip, divide the bill by 20 and say everybody at least pay this much. If everybody that wanted a business that had money to invest, had a business plan, and became the Broadway enterprise, and divide the money up according to how much you need to start your business. We got some say, I like when people have something to say. One thing we have to do is stop selling out to the bigger companies once our business is succeed. Woo, child. Girl, you done hit. Yes. We don't become good enough no more. I had a meeting, right? Let me tell you something. America needs Vivacious Speaks. And if God hadn't told me so, I would be totally discouraged. But I'm glad I had a friend to vent to. And what the person told me, who had access to a door that I could walk through and become, and put my show out there where more people can see it, because I'm sure all of you guys share with your friends. It would not have cost them a dime to introduce me to somebody. But that wasn't the door God had for me, and I'm okay. Because nobody will be able to say they made for me. Well, you're not American enough. And the examples she gave me to do my show was to make my show like everybody else's show. And what I told her, I said, we don't need another superstar. That's not what Vivacious Speak is about. I'm not trying to be a superstar. I want everybody who have a voice to come out and be able to say what they need to say and add what they need to add for us. I'm not trying to be a superstar. So Dia have to say, how do we recover? How to find loyal, mature people that want to be included to pitch in. This is hard to find. I personally would be a good candidate after being burned as many times. You're absolutely right. And guess what? That's how those people make it, dear. That's how those people make it, Sigrid. We have to stop selling out, thinking they're our only way to the top. To the top of what? And come together, loyal people who still at the beat. Look, I have a friend, and we both waiting on a window. And guess what we know? We're going to share with each other whose ever window open first. Because we already have the product. That's how those people do it. Look, 5 families going to come live in this one house. I said, oh, all of those cars. I gave this girl from nursing school. We were nurses together. And I gave her a ride home in Vietnam Village. She lived, well, we called it Vietnam Village. She was Vietnamese in nursing school. I said, girl, y'all got people to drive all of those cars, or y'all just have all of those cars? So I was dropping her off. And she said, oh no, we stay here. I think I don't remember how many families, but she didn't say how many people, but it was how many families. When one person get a house, They bring all the other people and everybody do something. And they save up the money. And all of the houses these people own, all of the houses, all of the cars, everything they own, all of the land, all of the investments that they have comes under one name. And everybody is rich. And you have people you can trust. And dear, I think that was the biggest word for tonight. Trust. And we have to stop thinking we need them to make it. We had flourishing cities, flourishing businesses. Even in my time on earth, we had our own sophisticated clubs. The Autocrat Club. I'm from New Orleans, so I know that. The very name, the Autocrat Club. My dad was a big deal in the Autocrat Club. The Aladdin's Club. Dad was a big deal in the Aladdin's Club too. We had our own. Why is it that our entertainers are so mad because they don't have an Emmy or a Grammy? Why you need that? Why you need that from a people who won't even pay you like they pay the other people who they give their Emmys and Grammys to? So, see, this is why people have to listen to Vivacious Speaks. We have to become our own value again. And when I say that, I want to get back to the Jackson 5, ABC. What in the world happened to our families? When I'm gonna go all the way to our city, okay? When I listened to Oliver Thomas today, talk about how they want to take over New Orleans and we are handing it to them. It brought me back to Atlanta and how they want to take care of Atlanta, take over Atlanta, but they know they can't fit there. So what they want to do is take over the airport, but Atlanta runs the airport. In South Carolina, we won the last Geechee Land. We're gonna go tape a documentary down there to record a documentary. People don't tape it, but the state of Georgia want to snatch. They want to snatch the value of blacks away. But the main value of us is our family ties. Family. It just go right through my heart. It breaks my heart every time I see somebody right, because sometimes people you don't even know is better to you or closer to you than your family. Then go fix it. Oh, I haven't spoken to my mama in years. Then call her. And every daddy who don't know where his children are, babies are grown, go find them. We carry babies, but they're your seed. And then we have to raise your seed. And when your seed come up productive, you want to show up. But every daddy who is not there for their children has turned their backs and abandoned themselves. And vice versa. And for all those moms who wants to control so badly that they ignore dads, how dare you? I was telling somebody today when they called me, I'm the world's counselor, but it's okay. I love it. And they were talking about something their mate did with the kids that they didn't like. I said, that's why God gave people two parents. That's why God gave them two parents. Because one person might be missing something and they have another, but you're not raising your children by yourself. They have two parents. He may not think like you, or she may not think like you. But did it harm the kids? Did it destroy something in the kids? Or did it show them love? So just let love show and grow. Step back. Let them be a parent. Stop letting your children bring stuff home. You know your child is doing the wrong thing and you're taking that money. Stop that. We got to go back to some of this old stuff. Look, a friend of mine told me the other day, I'm so glad I didn't marry somebody my parents arranged. And I said, I might have did better if my dad had arranged for me to marry somebody. We have to go back to parenting. And raising our children and teaching them boundaries and consequences. Teaching them how to know themselves and love themselves and to be relational. And then we can grow community. Look, I remember coming up and we would be by my nanny house. I don't remember the exact salary, okay, so I might be exaggerating. I thought it was $60 a week, but maybe it was $60 a month. Some people say, no, it was $60 a month, but it's so hard for me to believe that it was $60 a month, but it was a very little bit of money. We shouldn't be so dependent on the government for our basic necessities. I know I'm going to get whipped on this one, but it's okay. If you think something else, then say it. When you give your necessity to somebody else, they're going to feel like you owe them. Our basic necessities, food to stay. I'm not, now wait, hold on. Let's go back. There is nothing I think it should be. I think it's very well planned that when people work and pay their taxes and then they fall short, they have investment. That's a return on investment. Somebody asked me the other day, would you ever be married again? I said, not if that would interfere with my Social Security check. Oh, you worried about money? I work for that money. That's not something somebody gave me. I remember once, while I was still raising my daughter then, I wasn't able to work. I didn't work. And I got food stamps. Nobody was giving me nothing. That was a return on my investment. I had been working from a very young life. And I thought it was awful when I was single, trying to go to school, that I could get no help. None. Because I worked. And then we give the children, they're working, they're trying to make their college tuition and their college life possible, because even some of these degrees, I just think it's totally unnecessary. Just totally unnecessary. When I look, I'm in the nursing field, and I was in RN school. I'm an LPN, and I was in I'm an LPN, and I was in RN school, and I realized I'm gonna be doing the same thing. The prerequisites was the same classes, and it was all about monopoly and money. And now what has come with all of these nursing degrees is that people don't want to take care of people anymore. I have all of these degrees. Why I want to be at the bedside? Nobody wants to be at the bedside because they have all of these degrees. And everybody want to make all of this money. Sick people not going to afford to be sick if we keep charging all of this money. When COVID came, we made all the money. Thank you, God. But when the prices went back down, people stopped working. When the salaries went back down, well, they're not back down where they were, because I wouldn't be going to work either. But if healthcare is what it is, and these people are taking away healthcare, and the foundation of nursing, when you have all of these degrees, these people want the money for it. But they don't want to be a real nurse. And a whole lot of people think LPNs are not nurses, but we do the same jobs. It's political. All the degrees that people get only drive health care, the price of health care, to be unaffordable. And I'm using that as an example to say it's good we need some people with degrees. I love educated people. I love education. Education is always a big deal in my family. It was the most, look, you're going to be educated if you don't be anything else. Please understand, I am not downplaying your degrees. You earned it, doctor. I don't care what your doctorate is in. You earned it, you're a doctor, because it took so much sacrifice. But it was like I told one girl who was going back to school, what are you getting your degree in? How much will it cost you in the end? How much loans you making? How much money you borrowing to go to school? By the time you pay it back in interest, how much compared to you pay for that degree, and you have to pay back that tuition? Was it worth it? And now what's happening in nursing? They're calling all us LPNs. Can you be the charge nurse over here? And I've been a DON in the jail. We've all been charge nurses somewhere if we've been in nursing long enough. Because they know they're going to get the same job for the same amount of money. And my friend who went back to school for her RN, I'm making more money right now because I can find more work. So sometimes she has to choose to work on her LPN license. And I'm saying all of that to say we have to bring it all together. Learn to know ourselves, love ourselves, build family, build community, build trust again. Leave your children with the neighbors. You can't leave your children with the family members. We have to. Let me tell you something. I know I have two strong black women because they wrote tonight. I don't know who's all listening. Everything this nation have ever won, including civil rights, if you dig to the bottom of it, you're going to find a black woman at the foundation. This is no time for us to back down. This is no time for us to back out. As is written so many times in the Bible, be strong and courageous. Black girls, black women, teach our girls to be the women that we were. Be strong and courageous. If our world is going to be saved, y'all, it have to. It's going to be us. I thank y'all for tuning in. Anybody have anything, any grace, wisdom they want to add before we leave? We must begin to build our communities. Let our when we become self-sufficient, our communities will become self-sufficient. to trust and honor each other again? Hmm. But I want to thank you guys for being here. I want us to keep on mind, hold these discussions with the people we know. Um, don't give up on your dreams. Don't. If you have an idea for the business, for a business, do it. Honor your customers and your constituents with respect. I walked in the bank the other day and nobody said anything, right? Nobody said anything to me. I stood there for a minute. Nobody said anything. I was like, what in the world is happening to banking? It was two young guys sitting behind. And then a guy walked up and said, hey, and he started asking questions about his check. No, look, help the guy out. Look, maybe blah blah, do this. No, that's not gonna work. No. You know, you just never saw that in banking before. But I decided, I'm sorry, to take my real business to another branch. But when I walked in the door, I tried it. When I walked in the door, I was greeted. That's the bank I stayed at. And understand this, people don't have to do business with you. So people who choose to do business with you, treat them graciously. And where you do your business will make a difference in the product that you sell or work through where you are. It's going to make a difference. But remember, when you go to people that's going to pay more, you have a larger profit to make over here, give them the product for that price. That's worth that price. You can't bring the $2 product to the $50,000 area and charge $50,000 for a $2 product. You don't charge by how the people look. You charge by your product. So if you have a product that could go for 50-20, sell that over here to the people who could afford 50-20. If you have a product that's worth $5,000, bring it right. Bring it right, because those people are not going to care nothing about paying $50,000 because they want it. But don't try to charge people $50,000 for a $50 product. And remember graciousness. Oh, this girl said, I'm so glad she didn't put up the other patch, okay? She said, we've been talking about this patches, and she said she's going to go into patch business. That's Dia said, my flying patch has potential. No, when I saw that patient, like I told her the other day, I saw a patient, I can't tell her patient situation. I said, girl, you're going to need one of those patches. My girlfriend is about to sell. But thanks for that laugh. Thanks for tuning in. And look, we'll see y'all next week. We'll have a guest. We'll see y'all next week.